A man can live with a loss, but he cannot live with a what if. Failure hurts, but failure gives you an answer, while regret gives you a question that never stops speaking. What if I had tried? What if I had stayed with it? That is the kind of question that follows a man for the rest of his life. It appears in quiet moments. It comes back when life slows down. It speaks when you see someone else living the life you were too afraid to chase. And that is why what if is heavier than failure. Because failure eventually teaches you something. Regret only reminds you that you never found out. Most people are more afraid of failing than they are of living with regret. They let fear answer the question before action ever could. They imagine the loss, the embarrassment, the wasted effort. So they step back, they belay, they protect themselves from the pain of failing while walking straight into the pain of never knowing. They keep asking, what if it fails? But they never ask the question that could change everything. What if it works? What if the thing you are afraid to start is the thing that changes the direction of your life? What if the risk you keep avoiding is the door your future has been waiting behind? That is why you cannot act out of fear. Fear will always exaggerate the danger of trying. It will show you the worst case. It will remind you of every reason to stay where you are. But fear is not always truth. Sometimes fear is just your mind trying to keep you inside a life it already understands. Even if that life is making you miserable, even if it is slowly draining you. And deep down, you know the truth. You do not only fear failure, you fear finding out what the dream might demand from you. You fear the discipline, the change, the sacrifice. The possibility that if you actually tried, there would be no more excuse. Because once a man takes the shot, he can no longer hide behind not knowing. He has to face the answer. But facing the answer is better than being haunted by the question. A life worth living should not be filled with unanswered questions. It should be filled with attempts, with lessons, with moments where you can look back and say, at least I gave myself the chance to find out. Because you can sleep with a loss, but you can't sleep with a what if. It may hurt. It may humble you. But there is peace in knowing you stood in the arena. There is peace in knowing you did not betray the dream without even giving it a fight. But there is no peace in never pulling the trigger. There is no peace in watching the years pass while the question stays alive. And the years will pass. This life is not a rehearsal. There is no second version where you get to come back and try again with the courage you were too afraid to use the first time. You do not get to pause the years, waste the season, and then ask time to return what you gave away. Time does not negotiate. It does not wait for confidence. It does not care that you were scared. The days keep moving. The months keep passing. The years keep disappearing. And one day, the chance you kept delaying may become the regret you have to carry. That should wake something up in you. Not panic. Urgency. Because time is the one thing that does not come back once it is gone. Money can return. Confidence can be rebuilt. Skills can be developed. Failure can be recovered from. But time does not return. And if you spend your best years waiting for certainty, You may wake up one day with certainty about only one thing. You wasted the precious time you had. This is not a warm-up. This is your life, not the practice round. This is the real thing. The time you are wasting now is real. The dream you are delaying is real. And the regret of never finding out will be real too if you do not move. So stop treating your life like you have unlimited chances. Stop acting like there will always be another season, another year to chase that goal you've been thinking about. The perfect moment is a lie. The safe path can become its own prison. And sometimes the greatest risk is not taking the risk. Because if you never try, you may avoid the pain of losing, but you also guarantee the pain of never knowing. Nobody is coming to save you from that. Nobody is coming to hand you the answer. At some point, you have to realize that this is on you. Not because nobody cares, but because nobody can live your life on your behalf. Nobody can take your shot for you. And once you understand that, the question changes. It is no longer, what if I fail? It becomes, what am I willing to do so I never have to wonder? That is where action begins. A man who understands this question starts taking the risks required. Not halfway, not with 1 foot in the dream and 1 foot in the old life. If the dream matters, stop half-stepping into it. Lock in. Cut out the distractions. Stop wasting the hours you keep saying you do not have. Stop repeating the habits you already know are keeping you stuck. You have to decide for yourself that this will be the season everything changes. Not because the result is guaranteed, but because you are done living with the question of what if. You are done letting fear decide for you. And once you take the shot, you have to trust the work. Because action does not always reward you immediately. The first attempt may not change everything. The first month may not show much. But that does not mean the work is not working. You do not quit after one workout because your body is not transformed yet. You understand that training compounds. You understand that the body changes after repeated effort. Your dream works the same way. The work compounds before the result becomes visible. So believe in the training before the transformation appears. Believe in the work before the reward arrives. Stop obsessing over when it will happen and focus on what you can do today. Because the future does not need you to solve everything at once. It needs you to stop doing nothing. It needs you to stop letting uncertainty become an excuse for inaction. It needs you to start stacking the work until the work has something to show. And this is where most people lose. They try for a moment. They do not see the reward. Then they decide it was not meant for them. But work often proves itself after the point where most people stop believing in it. That is why you have to stay. You have to keep showing up while the result is still delayed. You have to keep moving while fear is still asking whether this is worth it. Because everything you believe, say, and work toward may already be unfolding. Time just has not caught up yet. That is why patience matters. But not passive patience. Not sitting around hoping life changes. Active patience. The kind that works today without needing to see the whole reward. The kind that says, I do not know when the result will appear, but I know the work is still mine to do. And as you keep working, something else has to change too. You have to recover the mindset of, Why can't it be me? Why can't you become the one who achieves generational success? Why can't you be the one who locks in? As children, people dream without asking for permission. They imagine without building prisons around their own potential. Then life starts placing guardrails around their mind. They let the noise enter, other people's doubts, other people's limits. And slowly a man stops asking what is possible and starts asking what is safe. But safe is not always best. Sometimes safe is just fear that has been accepted for too long. So ask again, why can't it be you? If other people have changed their lives, why not you? If other people have started with nothing and built something, why not you? You do not have to be fundamentally different from everyone else, but you do have to act differently. You have to choose differently. You have to stop living like the old life is the only life available. And sometimes that means letting parts of the old life collapse. Sometimes you are trying to hold up a house that is already burning. A habit that keeps destroying you. A relationship with comfort that keeps stealing your future. And maybe the reason nothing new has entered is because you are still clinging to what is already broken. Do not hold the old life together just because it is familiar. Sometimes the collapse is not the end. It may just mean you have to let go of the old to make room for the new. Sometimes losing what no longer fits is the beginning of becoming available for what does. And yes, that can be painful. Change can feel like loss before it feels like freedom. But staying in a life that keeps killing your spirit is painful too. So choose the pain that gives you a chance. Choose the uncertainty that might open a door. Choose the risk that can finally answer the question. Because the real regret is not missing the target. It is never pulling the trigger. Never knowing whether you could have hit the target. That is the life you are trying to avoid. A life full of unanswered questions. A life where you protected yourself from failure, but lost the chance to become more. So take the shot. Make the decision. Start the work. Begin by locking in for 1 month. 1 month of cutting the distractions. 1 month of showing up daily. And then continue. Do it again. Another month. Another promise kept. Another step away from regret. This is how a life changes. Not in one dramatic moment, but in the moment where a man finally refuses to keep wondering. He decides he would rather try and learn than wait and decay. He would rather risk failure than guarantee regret. So no more what-ifs. No more letting fear answer questions that only action can answer. No more delaying the dream until it becomes a memory. Ask yourself, what if it works? Ask, what if this is the decision that changes everything? Then move. Because a man can live with a loss, but he can't live with a what if. The question of what might have happened if he had actually tried can follow him for the rest of his life. And that is too heavy a thing to carry. So give yourself the answer. Take the risk. Do the work. Trust the process before the reward appears. Use the time while you still have it. And one day, when you look back, let there be no unanswered questions sitting in your chest. Let there only be the quiet certainty that you gave yourself the chance to find out. Allow your life to become a tale of all the times you tried.